You're good. There you go.
All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. We are live today. REIPrintMail going to be pulling a list. Here as we get started, I'm going to let the video run for a couple minutes. People join in. If you can hear me, everything sounds good. Can somebody put in the chat that you can hear me well, just so I know I'm running good? See if I get anybody. All right. Thank you, Susan. All right. So guys, today I'm going to talk for about 2 minutes, kind of just wait. Like I said, let some people get in here in case they take a few minutes. We're going to be pulling a live list today. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering things that you should be thinking about when pulling your list, things that can go wrong, things you need to watch out for. We're going to be looking at best practices on pulling those lists as well. And then a little surprise bonus we're going to throw in at the end is getting a cash buyers list. So with a cash buyers list, figure out what's going on in your market, who else is there, how many properties they're buying, if they're in the process of building their portfolio, if they're in the process of selling or they've had properties for a while, maybe they're ready to sell. So it's worth your time to reach out to them. We'll be talking about marketing a little bit, some direct mail, some other marketing channels as well, and what kind of mix you should have to have the most success. So we've been in about a minute and a half. I'm going to let it go another 30 seconds or so, and then I'm going to flip over to starting this thing. So give it another 30 seconds. All right, guys. So before we jump into actually pulling the list, I kind of want to just talk about marketing in general. So when we are looking at finding leads and looking at our marketing, you guys need to make sure that you have multiple channels of marketing. Here at REIPrintMail, we are a direct mail house, and we are going to be marketing to create inbound lead generation for you, where we are going to reach out to the prospect and get them to call you. And at that point, start a conversation about you buying their house. But you also have pay-per-lead. We have pay-per-click. You have SEOs. We have driving for dollars, cold calling. Make sure you're following TCPA if you go that route. I would advise against any texting these days with the lawsuits that we have going. But when you guys are looking at your marketing, it all comes down to the list. And it all comes down to finding who am I going to be reaching out to and how am I going to be doing that. So that's a big topic that we're going to go over today. So with that, guys, make sure that you are looking at and talking with somebody who's a professional in the field. If you reach out to myself, if you reach out to another coach here at REIPrintMail, we'll walk you through the best practices when it comes to marketing. So jumping into our list, I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to, there we go. We're going to start looking at jumping into a property here, and we're going to start in REI Smart Data. So REI Smart Data, this is our personal database that we own. There's also PropStream, ListSource, DataFlick, 80/20 REI. There's a bunch of them out there. And the reason that I'm choosing our database, REI Smart Data, is just the fact that I have more options inside of it. I can do a few more things. I'm going to be able to actually download multiple lists, show you guys how to do some list stacking, and at that point, how to clean up a list, do some trimming, and kind of get the full picture. But at the end of the day, guys, we have multiple sites that we can use. So starting off, I already have one preloaded here. I'm going to go with Corpus Christi in Texas. I'm going to go through 3 different ones today. This one, we're going to go down south. I'm going to hit Arkansas, and then I'm going to go up northeast, and I'm going to go up to New Jersey. And with this, we're going to kind of just go through and look at the basics. So starting up here in the top left, any database you're using, they're going to give you all of the information. So owner occupied, out of our 110,000 records we're working with, we have 72,000 and change. Absentee owners, we have 34,000 and change. And out of the absentee, we can see the majority are in state. And then we have a little bit of out of state here. It's going to tell us our corporate owned. It's going to let us know our high equity, our free and clear, our vacants. And then this REO down here is going to be your bank owned properties. We'll talk about it at the end of the video today. So definitely stay on, because you're going to want to see our cash buyers that we look at. We're going to look at a cash buyers list right here, 35,000. That doesn't mean there's 35,000 individual people that are investors in this area. It just means that's how many properties who have had a cash transaction. So we'll talk about that a little more at the end of the video. So for this entire video, I'm going to do a very, very basic buy box. We are just going to be looking for 3-2 houses in that range. We're not going to be doing anything too extreme, just going through the normal. So something that I like to look at is wherever I'm at is this median house price. So we got our median listing price here of $284,000. And in the investing world, we're going to want to kind of use that as our cap. Now, if you're at a point where you need to get a little bit more properties, you don't have enough records, you could sneak above this, maybe go up to 300,000. But I like to stay a little bit below it. So about 275 is where I would stay if I'm working in Corpus Christi. And we'll look at this number as we move around to the other two markets we're going to look at today as well. So as we go through and as we look at these, we're going to first want to figure out, well, hey, are there any broken records? So what do I mean by a broken record? And what I mean by this is the fact that we want to know if something is not being recorded well or not recorded at all by the county. So at the end of the day, every county is different. And this Corpus Christi one's not going to be my main focus today, but I want to scroll down and I want to look at a few things. So let's say we want to go after absentee owners. So I'm going to go in here to owner occupied status, go to an absentee owner here. And at this point, I'm going to leave corporate alone. So this would be if a person with an LLC has it or an individual owner. I'm going to leave this off. I don't want to put yes or no. I want to capture everybody. MLS, I'm going to target off-market properties. So I'm going to take all the active, I'm going to take all the pending properties, and I'm going to change this from included to excluded. And I want to make sure that I am looking at only those off-market properties. Moving down from here, we can get into our sales date, years owned. These kind of complement each other. You can pick one or the other. I'm going to go on this at least 2 years of years ownership. And at this point, I have this little box over here. So let's look at what happens when I turn this box on and off. So as I turn this box off, we drop way down to 16,000. So what just happened here? Why did we just lose half of our data? And the reason that this just happened is in Corpus Christi, years owned is not documented that well by the county. So if the county is not documenting this and you tell the database that I only want properties that for sure have been owned for 2 years, it's only going to spit out the properties that have been owned for 2 years. And Corpus Christi right now only has 16,454 of these documented. Now, when I come over to this little button over here, this is our include empty values. So on an Excel sheet, if the county doesn't record something, it's going to be empty in the Excel sheet. So when I click this and I say, I want to include all the properties where the county did not record how many years owned the property was, meaning we don't know if it's been 2 or more years, that goes up to 29,962. So while this puts an unknown in our list, we're going to get to look at this list and we're going to get to manually go in, trim this up and make sure that it's looking good. So for right now, I'm going to leave this button on here. But this is something you'll want to go through when you're looking at your buy box and making sure that you're checking all of these when it's appropriate. So when we go through these list type filters, if we're looking for specific things, cash buyer, private lender, probate, death, I'm going to leave it blank for this search. These are things that you can get into. So not all the filters are going to be selected when you're building yourself a list. So I can go down to document type here. We have unknown, not provided, affidavit, quiet claims. Once again, if you're going after specific niche things, at that point, you can go ahead and look at these. For my search, I'm going to leave this blank. I said I'm doing a basic search, basic buy box for this YouTube video we're making today. Now, property type, however, we need to select something. So I have single family residential. I'm going to do everything single family today. And you'll notice that a lot of properties drop off from our 29,000 down to our 13,000. Now, if you want to get more in depth, however, we can come down here and also click single family residential and look at every type that are in the area. Notice we still have our 13,800, but if we don't want to go after patio homes, we can take these out. If we don't want the row houses, If we don't want the townhouses, these are things we can remove. Now, in this case, it didn't matter because we stayed at the 13,800. But if your county has these in here and you don't want to deal with them, that's something that you'll want to look at, maybe go a little bit more in depth. As you learn your own market, if this doesn't matter, like right now, we stayed at 13,800. I can go ahead and every single time I log in and every single time I pull a list, I can safely just click this button and I already know I'm getting what I want. So now we can go into our beds. Like I said, I'm going to go with 3-2. So I'll type in 3 for my beds. And whoa, I dropped down to 1,928. So at the end of the day, what happens if I include the empty cells? I go way back up into 13,000. So in Corpus Christi, they also do not do a good job of recording how many beds are in their county. So this is a broken filter. It's unreliable. If you're going to fill this in, you have to have this checked. So what about baths? What happens when I put in my 2 here for a 3-2? Once again, I drop down to 1,184. Let's look what's about to happen here. I'm back up at 13,000. So at the end of the day, I'm going to deem beds and baths broken. You can leave these in here and have the box checked, or you can just leave it totally blank. But if I know I'm going after 3-2s, how am I going to control this? How am I going to pull a list? Some people would get on here and be like, well, this database is horrible. It can't even find me properties of what I want. But we got to be smarter than the database and smarter than the computer system and find ways around this. So what happens when we go to square foot living? So if I want a 3-2, probably looking at least 1,500 square feet. And at this point, it does drop me down to 4,300. And let's go up to, we'll go up to 3,000 square feet. What happens when I click the unknowns? Well, look at that. I'm right in the target range. So this is a reliable way of searching. So at the end of the day, while I'm not 100% sure if I'm getting 3-2s, maybe I'm getting 2-1s because I'm okay with that. Maybe I'm getting 4-2s, 4-3s because I'm okay with that. I'm not 110% sure, but I know by searching with square footage, I'm getting reliable data from the database because as I checked my box here, my number stayed practically the same. So I end up gaining just a little bit from this box. So they do a pretty good job. Sliding down, square footage of the building. This would be more commercial stuff. We're not going to get into that. Square foot lots. This is a filter I'm not going to mess with for this, but if you're doing mobile homes, this one's really nice to have because if you want to make sure you're out of a park, if you want a mobile home on land, you can put in a minimum lot size here. Make sure you're sitting on a 1/4 acre. Make sure you're sitting on 1/2 acre. Just do the math here to convert your 42, I believe it's 42,000 square foot is an acre. So you go half of that, or you go a 1/4 of that and make sure that you're in range. Year built, we want to make sure we have some wear and tear on here. So if we're getting into wholesaling, we're getting into fix and flipping, I can go in and do something such as 2010, allow there to be about 15 years of wear and tear on these properties, make sure there's something I can do. Once again, I'm always going to check my box here. How well are we recording? Well, right here, there's actually some that they're not doing the best job on because we end up losing about 600 properties. So I'm going to want to include these. I'm going to keep them in. As we move into stories, once again, pretty optional, but if you want to be a ranch style, if you want to make sure you're single story, you can type a 1 in here, see what happens. All right, maybe they don't record this well. We lost a lot of records. So we go right back up. Once again, probably a broken filter, something I'm going to want to stay away from. Moving down, units I'm not worried about for a single family residential search. Estimated market value. I like to have a floor in here. I don't want to get vacant land. I could do 20,000. And then once again, coming back over to the median list price. Well, it disappeared on me right now, but we were at about 284. I'm going to stay at 275 here and make sure that I'm where I would like to be. So at the end of the day, I can check this box. This is a reliable filter. Coming down, I want to make sure that I have some equity in this property. So when I go to wholesale, fix and flip, I have a little bit more negotiation. I like to do 40 is what I personally like to do. You can go more aggressive with 50 or 60. Kind of comes down to, well, how many records am I working with? How many do I need? How aggressive can I be? If this number said 10,000 and I'm okay with only needing 5,000, maybe I up this to 60 and see what happens. On this, I'm going to check the unknowns. It's exactly the same. So they do a very good job of putting in the equity percentage here. So sliding down, I'm going to look at some of these other ones: estimated open mortgage balance, loan code, looking at tax lien. Once again, this is kind of getting into some very specifics. If this is something that you need in your list, go ahead and look into it. But just because it's there doesn't mean you have to fill it out when you're pulling your list. Down here, owner status. When we get into the cash buyers list in the second half of this video, I'll be getting into this where we can look at how many properties has somebody flipped in the last month. I like to go 2 months up to 10 months. You can find active flippers. If you're a wholesaler, this will be a great tool for you. You can find people that are actively in need of properties. We can get the list. We can reach out to them. It makes connections for you. Down here, we'll look at properties owned. We'll look at properties purchased in the last 6 months, the last 12 months. But these are all things that would tie into cash buyers list and things that we could definitely use. So at the end of the day, guys, this first little section, this first part we just talked about is about identifying broken filters. So you need to figure out, does the county do a good job of recording this information? If they do, awesome. If they do not, either leave it blank or make sure that these boxes here are checked. Whatever you're using, if it's ListSource, if it's PropStream, whatever database it might be, make sure they're including those empty cells, okay? So at this point, if we have any questions on broken filters, I want to look at that. I'm going to flip back over, see if I have any questions in here. It doesn't look like it at the moment. Got a infinite screen going here. It's a little bit fun. All right, so let's go back over here. I'm going to get out of Texas, and I'm going to go up to Arkansas. So I'm going to go to Benton, Arkansas. Maybe. All right, so I'm going to go to Benton County, Arkansas. This is going to be the second area that I look at, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time in this one, guys. And actually, I'm going to refresh this, clear out all those filters that we put in. Get that back. All right, here we go. So we got Benton. So this one, guys, I'm going to do a full list poll. So with doing a full list poll, we're at 109,000 records. I'm going to be going through, I want to talk about list stacking for a second. So at the end of the day, it is impossible to find every type of property you want to go after with one single list. When we are going to start out with a vacant property list here, we are going to be looking at years of ownership. It's going to be different. Equity is going to be different than if I want to go after some of my owner occupied for creative finance. I'm going to be looking at everything a little bit different when it comes to these filters and going through. Now, to speed things up, I have my presets that are pre-done here. And at the end of the day, over time, this is something that REIPrintMail has done. And we have ended up creating our own presets. Now, if you guys are using our database, this is something you can do. You can simply hit this plus here. You can create a new search preset. So if you're building a list in your own backyard and you're doing this on a monthly basis or a 3-month basis, and you're tired of typing this in every single time, well, at the end of the day, let it know the basics of what you want, and that's going to allow you to speed things up. So I'm going to click on this 1.1 vacant absentee, and at this point, oh, actually this one is not preloading my stuff. Let's see. I'm going to go down. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go down to this owner occupied vacant. And at this point, when it comes to vacant, I want everything. I want absentee vacant. I want owner occupied vacant. So at the end of the day, I'm going to take this off. So by taking this off, it is including absentee, out-of-state owner, in-state absentee owner, and owner occupied. So if you leave it off, it includes everything. And when it comes to vacant, I want it all. I'm going to have a very, very open buy box here. It's going to be loose because if a person owns a property and it's vacant, they're not making any money on it and it's costing them money. They're paying taxes. So at the end of the day, I'm going to come through corporate owned. I'm going to take this off. So I could care less who owns it. If it's vacant, it's vacant. I do want to stay off of the MLS. So active and pending here, I'm excluding those. I'm going to come down here with years owned. I'm not really worried about it being 2 years owned. I'll go down to 1 year. At the end of the day, I do want to make sure it's not a new build marked vacant. Nobody's sitting in it. So I do want at least 1 year of ownership here. Going down My stuff's always preloaded. It has duplex, triplex. Like I said, for this, I'm going to keep everything single family residential. So I'm going to clear all these out, leave it as single family for this. And I'm going to go ahead and look for having a 3-2 here. So I'm going to type in a 3, and I just noticed total records went to 0. So Arkansas, at least in Benton County, Arkansas, they are not recording beds. This is a broken filter. I'm just going to leave it completely off. I can't use it. It's useless for me. So I'm going to come down here, the baths, and I'll put a 2 in here. Go to 28. All right, let's see what happens when I check the box. I stay at 28. So baths are reliable here in Benton County, Arkansas. This is something that I need to check. So as I move down, I'm going to leave all this stuff wide open. Square foot living, I'll leave at 700 plus my unknowns. Coming down a little bit more, years built. So I have 2015 on here, 10 years of wear and tear. With it being vacant, I really don't care. I'll leave it that way, but let's see what happens when I check my box. And I jump up to 96. So year built, turn this on and off. That is a noticeable jump. It does not look like Benton is recording years built well by the county. So we need to keep an eye on that with all of my searches. Come down, minimum of 20. Got my box checked for unknowns. And then I'll come down on the equity on this, guys. I'm fine leaving it wide open. It's vacant. Just to see what happens, I'll put a 40 in there. It drops me down. Just to have a little bit of equity in there, I'll do 10. Now, at this point, I'm going to come up. I'm going to get my 89 records here. And I want to label this and I want to tag this vacant. So this part's important because the next part after we pull our list, we get into our marketing, we send out our direct mail, we need to collect our data and we need to make sure that it's organized. And we need to make sure we know, well, where am I getting the majority of my leads from? Where are my calls coming from? Where are my contracts? Where are my deals? How can I dial into my market better? And you need to know where it's coming from. So these are all vacant. And I want to make sure when I start stacking these together and I build a master list that I have this section of my list labeled correctly. So I'm going to confirm this. Hopefully our internet runs fast enough. Here we go. We have this red loading bar that we'll have to let run. Once it is done, it will show all of the properties. I will be able to select all of these. I will export it, and I'm going to hold on to it, and we're going to go right back in to pulling the next section of list. So I check everything. I'm going to go to exports. I can download this, and I'm going to go ahead and put this. Let's build a folder real quick. I'll go on my desktop. Create a new folder. We'll just call it Arkansas. And I'm going to dump this in. So with this, I need to save it. And I'll put it in my folder. So at this point, guys, we got through our vacants. Our vacants are very wide open. At the end of the day, you saw that I pretty much left the buy box wide open. I'm okay with anything. If it's marked vacant, there's going to be high motivation to get rid of that. So now I'm going to rerun this. So the nice thing about REI Smart Data, it allows us to just rerun the search. So when I click rerun the search, it's going to leave my location in there. It's going to leave everything that I had in here. You'll see it still says vacant. I still have my 1 year. And on this point, I'm going to go to my next spot, which is going to be 1.2. And on 1.2, I'm looking at absentee out of state. So my abbreviation ABS, absentee, OOS, out of state. And with this, you'll notice vacant is now off. I have out of state owner on. I'm still working off the MLS. Now I want to go up a little bit on years ownership. So with this, I'm going to go up to 3 years ownership. I'm going to leave off these deep details. I'm okay with single family residential. Take off all my duplex, triplex, quadplex. I know beds are useless. I am not going to fill this out. I do not care about it. I'm going after 3 2s, and bathrooms are reliable. So I'll stick my 2 in there just to be on the safe side. I'll click this in. It does stay at my 1,063. square foot living. I want to be at a 3.2. So I need to control this a little bit more. So I'm going to go up to 1,500 square foot minimum to make sure that I'm good. Now at the end of the day here, I could put my maximum on, but I like to control how big the house is through price, because if the county is not recording everything perfectly at that point, I don't want to accidentally exclude something that I might want. So I'm going to come down here, year built 2015. I'm going to check this box, but I don't really want to deal with houses that are crazy old. I don't want anything in the 1800s, early 1900s. I'm going to go 1950 as the oldest property that I want. And with this, we have 10 years of wear and tear. I would rather have 15 years of wear and tear. In this example, I'm acting as a wholesaler fix and flip. So I need there to be some stuff wrong with the property, some things that need to be updated. So I'm going to change this to 2010. So I do knock off some properties here for myself. But at the end of the day, it's going to let me target what I'm wanting to target. As we slide down, I'll leave my 20,000 on here. And my median home value over here, I don't have, and it's because I am into a search. So I'm going to go ahead and figure this out real quick. This is something that I want to know. I'm going to go ahead and just pull open another tab, jump in real quick. And I'm going to look and I'm going to see that median list price that we talked about at the beginning of the video. This one's at 384. So I like using this kind of as my cap. If you're looking for more properties and you need to go up to 400, feel free to. End of the day, nothing wrong with that. But most of the time when I'm pulling lists for clients, I'm going to try and stay under this. So I'm going to go at 375. So I'm going to come back over. I'm going to put my max at 375. And once again, I'm going to check this. And this is staying reliable, just like our first preset. So it's starting to conclude. We know where the broken filters are for sure in this search and where they are not. Now, at this point, if I'm coming in as a wholesaler, fix and flipper, this is an absentee owner out of state, I'm going to want to have some wiggle room here. So I want some equity into this property. I'm going to put 40%. I always exclude the unknowns in case there's unknown equity in a property. This is something that's going to allow me to have some negotiations. From here, the rest of this stuff I'm not worried about for this type of search. Like I said, down here at the bottom, when we get into that cash buyers list at the end, we'll be talking about that. So let's go ahead and scroll up. I'm going to get my 325 records. With this, I want to label it so when it jumps into my list, I know what it is. So I got my absentee out of state. I'll let this one roll. We'll let it load. We'll download this one. We'll stick it into the folder. And then at that point, what we're going to be able to do here at the end is we're going to stack all these up. We'll look at how to dedupe them. We don't want to accidentally mail the same place twice. We don't want to mail the same person twice, but I will talk about that. There is a strategy if you're okay with it. And then we'll look at some trimming as well. So my bar is done loading. Select everything. Go to my exports. Download. I need to stick this into my folder. And now I have this in here. Open this up. I have both going. All right. So this does get a little bit repetitive. So I'm going to speed up a little bit on these next two polls, guys. At this point, you're going to start noticing that it's about the same. It's just I'm going to tweak the filters with each thing that I'm wanting to do. So I'm going to refresh this list. I'm going to come in. My next one that I like to pull is going to be tired landlords. And on tired landlords here, they have to be absentee. I'm not going to put in-state or out-of-state coming down, excluding the MLS. And on here, we have 10 years of ownership. Now, with this, guys, I want to take this unknowns off, and I want to play with this for a while. So obviously, the longer they've owned these, the closer they are to retirement, wanting to get out of it, wanting to sell off their portfolio. So what happens if we go up to 15 years? We go to 680. Well, what if we go up to 20 years? We're only at 70. What if we go up to 25 years? We're at 0. And I understand that we have this box unchecked, but this one's a little bit different. And just across the board, no matter where you're at, if you're in a county that records everything to a T or not, you always, always, always want to check the unknown box for years owned, because about 30 years ago, we were mainly paper. We were not all digital, and a lot of stuff didn't get transferred over. So people who have owned properties for 25, 30 years, that's about the cutoff in any county that you're in, where they're just not going to record that no matter what, no matter how great of a county you're in, that's crazy detailed. So as you up this years of ownership, you're going to notice these dramatically drop down to zero. And I guarantee you that somebody in Benton County, Arkansas has owned a property for at least 25 years. So I come over here, I check my box, and I shoot up to 1,086, and it's just because it's not documented. And the last time this would have been updated was 25 years ago, and people aren't worried at the county level of updating this. So we have to, especially on years own, a very important filter. No matter what, if it's 10 or if it's 25, we have this box checked. So let's go back down to just the 10, and we're at 1577. I check this box, and I jump all the way up to 2,663. So definitely something that you want to have checked. For this example, I want to go 15 years of ownership. And I have my box unchecked, and I'm at, how was it said? No, it was not correct. There we go. 1766. Coming down through, single family residential. We know beds are unreliable. I'm going to leave it blank. My baths, I want to be at a 2. Check my unknown box just to be on the safe side. Square foot living, we're going to go 1,500. Once again, leaving the max out of here. I want to control that through price. I want to go 1,950 for my buy box. I'm going to drop this down to 2010. Include my empty cells, my unknowns. I want to go up to my 375. Check my unknowns. And at the end of the day, I like doing 40% equity on here, including my unknown. So guys, I went faster, but you should notice a lot of this with the buy box is just a repeat. I've identified the broken filter, so I know which ones to skip over. To be on the safe side, I'm checking my unknowns every single time. And now at this point, I can go up and get these 640 records. Making sure to title this as Tired Landlords. So when I make my master list, I can identify where everything is at. We'll let this thing load up, and we'll dump it into the file. And with this, guys, I usually will go through, I'll usually pull anywhere from 7, 8, 9 different lists. I'm not going to go through all of them on this video. Just at the end of the day, it's just going to be a little boring watching me pull things over and over and over. So I'm going to do one more after this. And then at that point, we'll get into list stacking, deduping, trimming, things along those lines. I'm going to take my tired landlord list here. I'm going to dump it in. And I'm going to run one more. And this last one I want to run kind of gets into the weeds a little bit. It lets you know the capability that we have and how deep we can go into our searches. So this one that I'm going to pull is called the kitchen sink. And this one is going to go through, and it's going to just pick out everything that basically has a paper trail. So we're going to look through here, and I'm going to take this off on corporate owned. I want to include everything. Now we only have 64 records, but inside these 64 records, I'm going to get into document type code. So I haven't touched this yet on the first 3 searches, and that's because I didn't want any of these in. It didn't make sense to have that filter turned on. But for this, you're going to see I got affidavit, bankrupt, we got assignment of agreement sale, cash sale deed, all of these. And what's happening with this poll that we're getting ready to do, this 64 records, not many, is that these properties have one or more of these different options that are tagged with the property. And at this point, with having all this information and all these issues and all these distressors in here, while it is only 64 records, it is going to give me some solid records to go after. Just to show this stays the same, single family. We want to make sure we're taking out beds. We know it's unreliable. For baths, I want to be at 2. Got my unknowns already checked. Change my square footage to 1,500. I'll control how big the house is through pricing. change that to the 20,000 instead of 25. Put this at my 375. Still got my unknowns. And on this, guys, I have my 40% equity. So it does drop me down to 15. Not many records here, but at the end of the day, if they're being tagged with at least one, if not multiple of these, I want these in my list. So you can decide once you get in and you know what you're going after, what makes sense for you. You can dig into the weeds. You can read through all these. You can do your homework. What do they mean? Is it something I want to deal with? And you can get into all of this small stuff. So this will be my last list I'm going to download. For this one, I just name it kitchen sink. And for me, I know that that means that I am having a paper trail. I got something going on I'm attached to. Hopefully this one goes pretty quick, only being 15 records. So at this point, download it. I'm going to throw it in. And then at this point, I'm going to go ahead and switch back over real quick. So unfortunately, I got to switch tabs, see if I have some stuff in the chat. Hit it right now. Yep. So with this, guys, I'm going to stop my sharing for just a second. Before we hit the next segment here, questions that we have. So anything regarding the filters that you saw, broken filters, why I was choosing something, why I was skipping over something, anything along those lines. Let's see. All right. I think that I'm good. All right. I'm going to go back to sharing. Give me just a second. Here we go. All right. Go back to my infinity screen. All right. So end of the day, guys, we could go through. I do have more lists that I can pull. I'm not going to sit here and spend the entire time doing this because it does get a little time consuming. But with this, guys, I would typically go through and I would look at my niche unknowns for absentee, my niche owner occupied, interfamily transfers are things I like to pull. Owner occupied, vacant, we already did. And then senior owner occupied would be more list that I would want to look at. But what I want to switch to now is I want to jump into these actual lists that we have going on here. And this is my first one. At the end of the day, we will see in column C that these are all my absentee out of states. So I have all my absentee out of states. This is the reason that I tagged them, know right where they're at. And something that's very important when it goes to stacking is looking at your headers here. So I got my titles, REI Smart. This is just basically our admin backdoor stuff, external ID. This is the naming I did. And then it gets into the mail company, the name, the first name. When stacking data, these columns have to match up. If you stack a list from list source and then you bring in prop stream and then you bring in REI Smart data and you stack them all together and these columns aren't matching, you're just going to mess everything up. So while that seems like a simple thing, make sure you guys are not making that mistake. So I'm going to scroll down. And at this point, I'm going to pull out my next list, the vacants. I'm going to leave my header off here. I'm going to do Control Shift down, and I'm going to do Control C to copy all of this. I'm going to come over to my original list, paste all this in, and you can see now we're switching from absentee out to vacant. From here, I'm going to come over. I'm going to open up my next list, do the same thing. Got my tired landlords. Don't want to include that header. Control Shift down, Control C to copy this. And I'll add it below vacant. So we can see vacant. Now we have our tired landlord. And then I will throw my fourth list in there. So I got my kitchen sink, all that paperwork stuff, very short list. Could be a hidden home run in here, so I like to include it. All right, and now I have all of my stuff in here. So play around with these filters and I mess up the order, I'm going to know where the kitchen sink leads are, the tired landlords, all the way up through to my absentee out of state. So one thing we need to do, we need to select all the data. After you select all the data, we want to get rid of the duplicates. We do not want to mail the same person more than once. You're wasting money. You're looking unprofessional. You're just throwing mail out the window. So I'm going to go to data here. And after I go to data, I'm going to go to remove duplicates. And I'm going to unselect all of these. With this, guys, it's nice to check this box that says my data has headers. So then you can read these and you're not trying to say, okay, what was A, what was B, what was C? I'm going to come down and I'm going to look at property street, city, state, and zip. You can get away with just doing property street if you would like. I like to do all four. And what this is going to do is if we have two of the exact same property addresses, it's going to identify those and it's going to delete them. So I'm going to hit OK here. We had 155 duplicates. So why did this happen? Why did we accidentally add 155 of the exact same addresses in 2 times? And it's because, think about it, absentee out-of-state owners and tired landlords. Well, we have landlords that are out-of-state absentee owners. So there's going to be an overlap there. And that's something we cannot avoid. So we have to make sure we remove those. So now I'm going to stay in data. I'm going to go to remove the duplicates again. And this one is something that you'll want to think about. So at the moment, we are not going to mail to the exact same mailbox more than once. But what if we have one of those tired landlords in our list? And what if they own 7 properties? Do we want to mail them a mailer for all 7 of their properties? So they get 7 mailers from us, showing that we are very interested in buying their entire portfolio and be very aggressive. Or do we want to mail them about one of their properties? And at that point, when we get on the phone with them, say, get in the habit in our talk track just to say, hey, do you have any other properties you own that you're looking to sell? I'm in the area and I'm looking just to buy a bunch of properties. So if you have more than one, I'd be happy to look at all of them. And then at that point, we only have to send one piece of mail. We only have to spend the money once, and we can reach out to more people for less money and simply get used to, in our talk track, asking them, hey, do you have any other properties that you're interested in selling? And at that point, you can avoid needing to send out the extra mail. So I'm going to go to mail, street, city, state, and zip. On this, I find 245 duplicates. I'm going to take these out. And now at this point in the list, I know that I'm going to be sending one mailer to one property owner. And if they have multiple properties because they're a tired landlord, we are going to simply ask when we're on the phone with them, hey, do you have any other properties you're interested in selling? So at this point, guys, that is the first thing you want to do with a list when you go to clean it up. The next thing that we want to do is we want to get rid of the trust. So here's one right here. We have the Holiday Family Trust, Dale H. and Nancy P. here. At the end of the day, trusts are something that are challenging to get a hold of the owner, making sure that they're going to call you. And we recommend just deleting them out. So how can we quickly do this? So with this, guys, if we go to first name here, I'm going to go back to home and we go to sort and filter and we go sort Z to A. It's going to put every individual owner up at the top. So right here, we have every single person who just owns a property. Well, let's look at what happens. So when you have an LLC or you have a trust, it's always in the last name here. So let's look at all of the properties that don't have a first name. And why do they not have a first name? Oh, here we go. I'll expand this out so you guys can see it. But right here, Aaron Davis is our last person who is an individual buyer. First, last name is here. And then we move down and you can notice right here, this is blank, right? So let's expand these out a little bit. Make it a little bit easier to read. And as we get into sorting by first name, we can come down and we can see this one's a trust, this one's a trust, this one's a trust. This one right here is an LLC. Maybe we want to mail to them, maybe we don't. That gets a little bit into the weeds, but how can we decide if Skeleton Investments LLC is somebody that we want to possibly mail to? So I'll take a little mental note, 561. If we come up here and we slide through our headers, we're going to see a lot of information. Property, city, state, zip. We got the county, latitude, longitude. We have the mailing street. We're going to notice right here, look at all the empty beds. We said that beds was a broken filter. Well, they don't record it in this county. They're recording a whole bunch of the baths, but they're not recording the beds. Year built was kind of broken, kind of not. We'll see, look at an even mix of having this data and not having it. So all this translates over to the list. We got square foot living, price. We have the owners here, years owned, MLS status information, last sales date. It goes all the way through a lot of information. It's 70 something different columns that we can look at. And the one that I want to slide over to, if I can find it real quick. All right, so we have purchased in the last 6 months, and we have purchased in the last 12 months here. So let me expand these out a little bit so we can read the entire title. And 561 was that magical number. Going down and looking at 561. So here's 561. This was the last 6 months. This LLC has not bought a property in the last 6 months, but they did buy a property in the last 12 months. So if they just bought a property in the last 12 months, especially if it was a flip, they may be trying to expand and grow their portfolio. I would probably exclude this LLC. But if we looked at, let's just assume 562 is an LLC and they have 0 and 0. At this point, we can go ahead and look at some more filters here. They're not growing in the last 12 months. Well, how many properties do they have owned? Do they have a lot of properties owned here? So back down to 562. We can see that they have a grand total of 4 properties owned. End of the day, are they looking to sell off yet? I'm not sure. And that's where it kind of gets into the weeds, and it gets into you knowing your market. It gets into your preference and what you're looking at. But when it comes down to trimming your list, first you want to identify all of your trust, your LLCs, everything that's not an individual owner. What I like to do at this point is I like to take these, I like to cut them out of the list. I like to open up another tab. I can put them in. I can take my header from the top. This one I'll copy because I want to leave it in the original. And now at this point, I can start playing around with my data. So now I can go in and I can organize. I have all my first names are missing here, but I can organize. I have my trust, I have my LLCs. I can slide over to BU, BW, these types of columns over here. And I can start looking at properties owned. I can look at purchase in the last 6 months, purchase in the last 12 months. And with all this information, I can start getting an idea of, well, which ones look like they're growing, which ones look like they've owned these properties for a long time. Maybe they're ready to sell. And you'll have to go through on a one-by-one basis there, get some organization, go through, do some filtering. And at that point, that's how you can turn a good list into a great list. So with this, guys, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'm going to see if we have questions about stacking this list. And at this point, stacking the list and trimming up, stuff like that. So DJ, you put, why don't you put them in separate tabs? So with that, I'm assuming, DJ, what you mean by that is at the end of the day, why don't I just put my vacant in a tab? Why don't I put my absentee in a tab, my kitchen sink in a tab, my tired landlords in a tab? And that's something that you can definitely do. At the end of the day, when I get to the trimming part, however, I want to trim everything at once. I don't care if the trust is a tired landlord, if it's absent, if it's vacant. I just want to get rid of all the trusts. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to sort and filter all those trusts. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of them all at once. If we had 4 tabs at the bottom, we could do it one by one, a little bit time consuming. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to have to put them all together anyways if I'm going to be doing a direct mail campaign. So if we're going to be sending that list to, say, myself or another coach here in the building, where we're going to be putting together a mailing campaign and sending out direct mail for you, we do have to have that master list, that stacked list. At that point, that will allow us to set up the mailing properly. A next step after this is we also run our list through a scraper. So a scraper is something that will find property market. Sorry. market values for each property. And at that point, if you're doing an offer mailer where we put an amount of money on the mailer saying that I will give you up to this much money for the property, it's a great negotiation tactic. It starts in the mailbox. It produces phone calls. It gets that phone to ring. At that point, we need to run the entire master list through all at once. At our company, we also have an AI software that we run. It ends up taking your list and it reorders it with the highest motivation to sell based off of the property owner's demographics. We scan up to 30 demographics about the property owner. That's another software where you have to run the entire list through. So keeping them in separate tabs at the beginning can definitely be something that works really well for you and something you might want to do. But eventually, when you're going to go ahead and run it through other software and you're going to set up a direct mail campaign, those are things that you wouldn't need a master stack. If you're going to do driving for dollars, if you're going to do cold calling, and that's as far as you're taking it, keeping it in separate tabs is something you could definitely do. It really just at that point depends on, well, where are you taking this list? What are you doing with this list? And then at this point, guys, other questions that we have, we're getting ready to jump into a cash buyers list, which I think is something very, very powerful. Not a lot of people think about doing it. And it's something really quick and easy that the coaches here at REIPrintMail can do if you want to jump on a call and get this information. All right. So if we do have other questions about list polling, about stacking, trimming, anything along those lines, definitely feel free to keep asking. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And I am going to go into a cash buyers list. So with this, guys, I'm going to just stay in Benton County, Arkansas. With this, actually, let me go ahead and just clear this out and type it back in so we can start over fresh. Oh, did I start over fresh? I only got 15 records. Nope, still has it all in. We'll clear that out and steal this tab over here. Here we go. Now we're starting fresh. So once again, guys, just to speed this stuff up, I'll go through the filter so you can see this. A cash buyers list, actually fairly easy to pull because you want to leave everything wide open. But I'm going to come down here. We have our cash buyers list. We have a preset already created for it. And on this, we're going to see 254 total records. For the cash buyers list, I am going to want to look at everybody who's buying property. So I'm going to take this off. I don't care if there's an LLC attached or not. So at the end of the day, I have this one wide open. On this with the MLS doesn't really matter on the cash buyers list. So I can just leave this open, leave everything wide open, leave it wide open. All the way down. You're going to notice I have like nothing selected, nothing at all, until I get down here about the owner filter. So now we're at a cash buyers list. So I want the owner filters as my thought process here. And as I go into this, I'm going to look at properties owned. And I'm going to be looking at properties purchased in the last 6 months, properties purchased in the last 12 months, and we can be looking at flipped property months. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and just look at people who have purchased properties in the last 12 months and purchasing a minimum of 3 properties. So with this, it could be a property they live in plus 2 more properties that they own, or maybe they're out of state and they own all 3 of these as rentals or fix and flips or buy and hold or wholesale, whatever it may be. But this is the only thing that I'm going to leave selected. Now, at the end of the day, if you want to go into properties owned and say we go into a minimum of 3 properties owned, or maybe because the numbers didn't change that much, we go up to 5 properties owned. We'll notice we dropped a little bit. You're looking at a person who has a bigger portfolio. They've also purchased 3 properties in the last 12 months. So depending on how big of a person you're looking for, these are things that you can go in. I'll leave the 5 properties owned. If you want to look at properties that have been flipped, we could say, okay, in the last 2 to 10 months, people who have flipped properties. We got 38 flipped properties in the last 2 to 10 months. I'd probably want to take off 5 properties owned. And I can take off properties purchased in the last 12 months. And flipped properties in the last 2 to 10 months, we have a decent amount, a noticeable amount here. So we can start kind of getting an idea of, well, what's happening in our backyard. So the one that I'm going to go ahead and pull here, and the one that I'm going to look at is properties purchased in the last 12 months. I'm going to go up to 3. And we can look at properties owned. We can put in 5. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and get my 946 records. This one, I'm not stacking it. I'm not worried about labeling it. If I was going to save it for my records, I would label it as cash buyers list. And this 946 records that we're looking at right now, guys, this isn't meaning there's 946 investors in your area. That's how many properties were purchased. So we'll go through and we'll look at how many people are actually in Benton County, know what your competition would be if this happens to be your area. All right, so I'm going to spread this out a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see. If I can get this going. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to slide all the way over. And there we go. So here we go. So we have properties owned. So I'm going to look at properties owned here. I'm at BU as my amount of properties owned. I'm going to sort and filter this. So I'm going to go largest to smallest. So I want to look at my hedge funds up here. So we got 13,653 properties owned. And then it says properties purchased in the last 6 months, purchased in the last 12 months. So we have 6. So while they own all these properties in Benton, they've purchased 6. So the bigger fish that we need to look at here is going to be this guy right here. They are looking at purchasing a very large amount of properties in the last 12 months. And then it noticeably drops. And then, oh, actually we have a decent amount over here. But then we get into our smaller numbers as we scroll down. So for this, I'm going to go back to the top. We'll look at this. I want to look at this 64, 58. So 5, 6, 7, and 8. Let's go over and see who are we working with? Who owns all these properties? Who's one fish in this area? And as we go through, this is MDC, Coast 28 LLC. So at the end of the day, you'll notice it's the same name for all 4 of those, same LLC that's doing all of them. And then we have another one down here, SBA Towers. They have a couple of different LLC names, but at the end of the day, they're all SBA Towers. So these are some of our big fish that we have over here. I'll go all the way back over to BU. I think I went a little bit too far. There we go. So once again, we got properties owned here. And we get the people who have been buying up properties. So at the end of the day, if this company right here has bought 47 properties in the last 12 months and I'm a wholesaler and I can get a hold of them, they're a great resource for me. I can find a property. They obviously want to buy a ridiculous amount of properties in this area. I get a hold of them and I figure out that I can call them up and I got a quick wholesale. Very, very quick. If I'm a fix and flipper, I know where my competition is. I know what big companies to look out for. I know what they're doing. I can look at what they're going after. So a lot of these people are going after commercial. So the property use, my single family residential. So my people are going after single family residential. What are they looking like when I come over to column BU? We can look at, they have a lot of properties here and they've purchased 0 in the last 6 months. And in Benton, they've purchased 14. So at the end of the day, I want to know who purchased 14 properties in the last 12 months, who's a single family residential person, and they're purchasing a minimum of 1 a month, sometimes 2 a month. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to look at this. And we have Next Point, single family residential, SPE1 LLC. So once again, pretty big fish here that they're looking at. We can go through, we can look at some more. We have more commercial single family. So you can kind of go through, you can see what people are going after. You can see what you're going after, where your competition level is, and you can get an idea of what's going on in your backyard. Now, something I want to look at is how many total people, how many total investors are in this area. So let's highlight this. Let's go back to our data tab from earlier. Go to remove duplicates. And on this, let's unselect all. Let's go to our mailing street. 706, 241 unique. So we have 241 unique mailing addresses. At this point, we can see that the names here are not repeating a bunch. So I can go to mail name here. We can go ahead and sort this. And at the end of the day, now we're not seeing a bunch of these names repeating like we did before, because we're actually seeing all the mailing addresses. So we can see in Benton County that our competition floating around, take off the header here, 240 investors in the area. Of those 240 that are in the area, how many are going after single family residential, which is we're probably going after if we are on this call right now. So let's look at property use code. Let's sort and filter this. And we got apartments, we got auto repair, we got car washes, we got clubs, we got commercial, condominiums. So if you're going after single family, here's residential vacant. We have some single family residential down here. Here's some restaurants, so you'd want to clear those out. Some retail stores, you'd want to clear those out. As we go down, we have some wholesale outlet stores. So at the end of the day, while there's 240 people investing in the area, if you're going after single family residential, it's not all 240 of those. So you would want to go through and you'd want to look at it and you'd want to see, okay, these are all land. So maybe I just want single family residential. So now we can take it down even further. Property type, sort and filter. I'm going to go Z to A on this one, put my stuff more towards the top. So I have my single family residential. And that cuts off at 86. So I got 86 people floating in my backyard if I'm in Benton County, Arkansas. So guys, you can dive deeper and deeper into the weeds here. You can go through all of these different column headers. You can read through them. You can get all the ideas, all the information that is going on. And it gives you an idea of, okay, do I want to do some more wholesales right now? Do I got a bunch of people buying in my backyard? Do I go over here to Properties Owned, last bought in the last 6 months, 12 months? Do I got a bunch of people with big portfolios? End of the day, they've owned these properties for 20 years. They're probably looking to sell off. Am I going to look to buy? Do buy and holds, fix and flips? It can guide you towards what dispositions might be working best in the area at that time. And that's a resource that's super easy for us coaches here at REIPrintMail to pull for you. And as I'm doing right now, we can walk you through it. We can teach you how to read it as well. So with this, guys, I'm going to stop sharing again. At this point, cash buyers list goes a lot faster than everything else. Questions regarding that cash buyers list, how to read it, how to look at it, anything I went over. Man, I must be really good at explaining this stuff. DJ, only person with a question today. Thank you for the question. At the end of the day, guys, this is going to wrap up my presentation. At the end of the day, in the chat, right now, you guys can book a free call. So if you haven't hit that chat button yet and pulled it up on the right side of your screen, do that real quick. It says REIPrintMail in yellow. It says book a free call. It has a link right there. If you want us to go into your specific market, we'll get on a Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting with you. We'll share our screen. We will go through, we'll pull a list with you. If you want to learn how to pull a list like I just showed, we will walk you through the steps of pulling that list yourself. We can go through a cash buyers list. We can look at what's working, what's not working in your area, do a full market breakdown. We can jump into that cash buyers list and look at, do I got a bunch of people with big portfolios looking to sell? Do I have a bunch of people in my area buying and wholesaling? I might be able to get a lot of quick sales. All those little things that are going to give you the edge that you need to either get started, or if you're already started, to scale to the next level, is things that we're going to be able to help you do. All of our coaching, everything we do here at REIPrintMail, it's 100% free. Our content that we put out is 100% free. We're here to educate and help as many people as we can. We want to see investors grow. So If you're not already following us, guys, like and subscribe, follow us. We're going to be putting out a lot of content, a lot of videos just like this one coming up in the future, and sharing all the knowledge that we have with you guys. So definitely look forward to all of our live videos we're going to be doing. Always log in. Make sure you're watching these. Ask questions in the chat. Myself plus other coaches will be jumping on. And like I said, just sharing the knowledge we have. We want to grow the investing community. So I want to say thank you to everybody who came on today. And at the end of the day, if you have any questions, feel free, book this call and get anything that you need. See you guys. Have a great day.